Name is Dr. Rick Seguil.
And action. Hey, Jay, this is Kirk again. And action. Hey, everyone, it's Dr. Rick. And Mickey had a question about more of a statement, but not liking the tincture that he's taking to combat his symptoms. And some of those symptoms are a little bit of anxiety, maybe a little bit of ADHD, maybe other psychological issues in addition to sleep, which usually goes hand in hand anyway, and then a whole bunch of other problems with the gut, because the gut is controlled by the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is essentially a slave to the way the brain acts. This is the first time you're finding me, though. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you like this video. I'll do this type of video and many other different types, but also share this with other people who are on the fence, because I love the medical cannabis industry in Illinois. I think this plant is being utilized so abundantly, and it's so underutilized. So this plant has so many different components in it. I mean, you can use it for recreation and just feel really relaxed with that sense of euphoria and that psychoactive effect that the THC has in it. But the way that the industry has also been able to extract, dial up, dial down, make things robust, there's several different components. There's cannabinoids. The ones that you've probably heard about would be THC, Delta 9 THC, which is the psychoactive one. And then there's CBD, which you'll see in the gas station, in Walgreens, online, Amazon. That's what you guys see is CBD from hemp. And that's a little bit different because essentially has zero, well, 0.3 or less, but zero THC. So you will not have a psychoactive effect with the CBD components that you might see at the gas station or at the Walgreens or on Amazon. Medical cannabis CBD, you can definitely feel psychoactive components. Depends on what product you get. Again, the industry with the extraction process, with the hybridization process, you can find different combinations. It's called the entourage effect. So if you take the individual components of the plant and you fine tune it through the extraction process and separation process to the effect that you want, whether it's to help battle breast cancer or take care of nausea from chemotherapy or take care of an immune response that is resulting in Crohn's disease of the gut or Hashimoto's thyroiditis, or the cytokine storm. Yes, it can help with cytokine storm calming. Or you just want to take care of PTSD and forget about remembering being in Afghanistan or being abused when you're a kid. You can dial up, dial down. You can actually make your own product to serve your community, to serve patients. So that's what this plant is so great with, that I think it still has a stigma with my baby boomers, although the baby boomers are pretty much the ones who would benefit from it most, because I have a guy that's calling me because he doesn't want to take any more opioids. He's essentially in a wheelchair. His wife can't drive. And I thought, I can really help him with this. But he has to get guidance. You can't just get the certification and go to the dispensary and pick up your miracle combination. All this stuff is kind of cool because it looks like candy, and I've got a bag full of other things through experimentation. And that's the way I learned, in addition to researching on PubMed, and then reading books, literature, finding the information that's outside the United States, in Israel. Yeah, because in the United States, it's still a Schedule 1 substance. And when it's a Schedule 1 substance like LSD, it's not medically useful and is highly addictive, which is really bogus. So those of you who are voting in the next few weeks, you might want to find out what the platform is and get somebody to get it off Schedule 1. So hemp is Schedule 5, I think. So that would be nice if this stuff was at that level, but we'll see. Anyway, with regards to MIG, so we're trying to treat the issues with attention deficit, maybe a little bit, anxiety, definitely a lot, sleep disorder, and then anxiety when you can't get to sleep, and then gut, right? So we have a whole bunch of different things. And I do think that so he's been in this for at least 3 years. So the likelihood is that every system in the body is totally shot and just surviving because it's been so long. So the other thing that's cool about the plants is that the plant can reset your own endocannabinoid system. So I have a video, I'll put it down below, on the endocannabinoid system that I did before. But the endocannabinoid system is kind of like an overruling governor. It takes care of all the other systems in the body, the parasympathetic, the sympathetic, the digestive, the neurological, the cardiac. All the systems have a governance by the endocannabinoid system. And you make your own endocannabinoids, anandamide and 2-AG, to just name the two biggest ones. And you have them constantly circulating and making you feel good. In fact, some would say that the exercise that you feel, the great high of the exercise, is not from endorphin or enkephalin, but it's from anandamide, bliss. It's called the molecule of bliss. And you can make that on your own if you're healthy. Now, if you're not healthy or you've been in the crap for 3 years, likelihood is the endocannabinoid system is way to one side or another, or not even existent. So that is where the medicine comes in handy. Because if your own endocannabinoids are off or depleted, you can actually use the phytocannabinoids from the plant, phytocannabinoids, to bring up your system. So if the endocannabinoid system can be band-aided with the proper use of medicinal cannabis, you can hold it there while you kind of repair all the holes in the dam, and then you can pull off the endocannabinoids or the phytocannabinoids, and hopefully the band-aids will stay in place. So, I mean, that's way down the line, but in this instance, which is common with my young guys, Mick doesn't like the taste of the tincture. So the way this tincture works is, again, the ratio here is 20-1. So 20 of CBD, 1 of THC. So nobody really gets high off of this. It is an endocannabinoid stimulant, more powerful and more robust than THC is CBD. So you just essentially take half a teaspoon or half a dropper and you put it under the tongue. And I do is twice a day. I am due now, but I'll wait for that because I'm going to do something else. I'll show you in a second. So there is a taste because it's oil. A lot of people don't like the taste of the sliminess or the feel of oil. So imagine if you just have a dropper full of olive oil. It's kind of the same consistency, so it's kind of weird. So I understand, but there is a little hint, for argument's sake. Might want to, number one, keep this in the fridge so it's kind of cool. When it's cooler, you won't taste it as much. Number two, you swig it down with a little bit of carbonated water. So don't drink too much, especially if you're doing it at night. Otherwise, you have to peel this off. But I know I've told my guys to keep it under the tongue for up to 2 to 3 minutes. No, I was going to do it, but I'm going to be testing this out. But if you do it for 2 to 3 minutes, then theoretically it gets underneath the tongue, gets into the mucous membrane, into the bloodstream, and it starts to work. Again, CBD, you're not going to notice anything. CBD receptors are mostly on the immune system, the white blood cells, the macrophages, the dendrites. So they're very important, but they don't really give you a tangible, I can feel it. You won't feel it. I think in time you will. And I usually say for my folks that are starting up on a loading dose, half a dropper 2 to 3 times a day, you do that for about 4 to 6 weeks. And then you assess how you're doing at the 4 to 6 week mark and you compare it to before you started. And I think you will notice a good response. I'm hoping it will help with sleep at least, because a lot of people will notice that and it'll be an improvement. Now, 3 years is deep-rooted sleep abnormality, so it might take a little bit of time before you get that car moving. So that's one thing, is cooling this down and maybe chasing it with a little bit of something of a drink, especially carbonated, because the sensation of the carbonation will distract you away from the feel of the oil. So that's one option, all right? The other option is, again, using the liquid, using a liquid source and then mixing it with liquid, but you're getting expensive now. So this is syrup. This is actually more dominant CBD again, but you can mix, it's made to be mixed in carbonated water. There's also other shot glasses like Zoots. I don't remember the ratio of CBD to THC here, And then this one, which I haven't tried, but it's got about 3 of the zoots in this bottle. So you essentially have to carve this out, put it in, measure it pre-dose, shake them all up because they've been stagnant for a while. And then you use it with a certain amount of carbonated water, whether you like this or Perrier or whatever's out there. Try not to get any of the flavored ones. I don't know what the flavor is made of, and there might be a sugar in it. So I like this, and it does kill the taste a bit, but again, not too much. So that's one way if you cannot tolerate even the colder fridged oil. If you put this in the fridge, it won't really gel up. The oil, unless you don't put it in the freezer, because then it's going to freeze if you leave it in there long enough. But if you put it in the fridge, it'll just feel cool. When you make something cool, it kind of kills the taste. Mick wanted to just go straight to gummies, and I think that's fair, but the problem with gummies is it's hard to find a gummy that's heavily or dominantly CBD. And then if you find one, likely it is, you're not going to find it again the next month. And we got to do this for the long haul. So I think it's fair to do gummies, but when you cannot find a dominant CBD gummy, that means you'll have to go and stick with a 1-to-1 or just a purely indica or sativa gummy. And then you're going to have the side effects, because when you have edibles versus when you inhale, when you inhale, you have a high hit of the entire plant. That's CBD, THC, all the terpenes. You have a high hit, it gets into the bloodstream, and then it drops fast. You have symptoms within about an hour. That's relaxation, euphoria, dizziness, slow thinking, slow reactions, which is why you're not supposed to drive or operate heavy machinery or take major tests. But it also leaves the system fast because it goes through the bloodstream from the lungs and it gets degraded in the liver. Now, if you have an edible, you have to eat it, and then it goes into the stomach, then it gets pushed over into the liver breaks it down, and the active components those are the ones that circulate for a long amount of time. So unpredictable about when it will kick in. If you do it on a twice-a-day basis, if you're lucky enough to find your own CBD high combination, or I had people take CBD dominance product and they put it into their own gummies, I think that's fair too. The only problem is when you make your own gummies, even if you stir it up real good, there's no guarantee about the division. It's something like a brownie. If you make a tray of brownies, there's going to be hot spots on the tray where there's a lot of product, and there's going to be cool spots where there's no product at all. It's unpredictable. And just like that, you expect that if it comes from industry, it's probably each one is pretty predictable. But still, it's then even if it is predictable, and even if you can find dominant CBD to load yourself up for 4 to 6 weeks, we don't know how the gut's going to work. And remember, I said that anxiety, difficulty with sleep, that screws up the gut. So it's unpredictable as far as when the gut will absorb, how it will absorb. Sometimes when you go through an anxious attack, the gut speeds everything along and you just poop out your product. So a little bit tougher and more expensive. So I really wouldn't, I know it tastes yummy because there's sugar in it, but I would steer away from the gummies. And these are expensive. They're getting more expensive as you go. And I found this at Sunshine. It's one of the new recreation places across from the Woodfield Mall. And this I wanted to try. I'll do this now. But this is more CBD than THC. I guess I can open this. What the heck? And I just got it for a prop. I don't even know how to open this thing. It's protected. Oh. So, again, when you experiment with something, what in the world? When you experiment with something, it's a good thing I'm not high. I wouldn't be able to open this thing. You have to prepare for being... So I've kept this in the fridge. This is lemon lime tonic, CBD dominant stuff. It's like 125 milligrams CBD and 25 milligrams THC. No. It tastes like tonic water. But does it say tonic water? It does say tonic fizz, but it's a disappointment. Sorry. I was expecting to taste this. And I could make that with this and one of these guys, but I mean, it was novelty. I think I showed it in a previous video. I don't like that taste, even if it's cool. So as I was alluding, if you experiment with some new product, you have to account, number one, I'm going to be staying home. I'm about to go to sleep. It's 8:41, so I'm an early bird. So if I get a little bit intoxicated, I don't think I'm going to get intoxicated with this. I'm going to be asleep. Typically, the edibles or the beverages don't really make you, even the tinctures don't really make you have the psychological paranoia. Usually the fast up and fast down, the inhaleds can give you paranoia. These guys, the edibles and the beverages, they can give you problems with side effects of the vagus nerve. Palpitations, chest pain, abdominal problems, nausea, maybe. But if I have any side effects, I'll be home. If I have any side effects that last into the morning, like at 6, I doubt it. It's not like an RSO oil, but I'm not driving tomorrow. So kind of get used to it, but it's kind of like a flat Sprite. Yeah. Anyway, so that's one option, but that's way too expensive. That's like $6, and you can probably finish that off. I'm gonna probably have to pee later on though, so I'm probably gonna dump it or put it back in the fridge just as long as nobody drinks it. So this is what I was gonna suggest. I would say freeze it. I'm sorry, chill it and then chase it. Chill it and chase it and stick with it. Maybe try to increase the dose, but again, if you don't like the oily consistency, we're not going to do that. Hopefully you're doing half a dropper 3 times a day. But instead of switching over to gummies, what I would do, especially if there's a sleep issue, is I would invest in CBN. So that's one of the other byproducts, the other cannabinoids that you find. There's about 100 to 200 different cannabinoids in each of the plants. And they all have their properties, but CBD and THC are the most popular. THCV is being utilized for nausea from chemotherapy. That'll be cool information when it comes out. But CBN has a particular tendency to make you sleepy. Now, I've tried the patches and I did try the capsules. They're a little pricey, but I think there's 10 capsules for $30. And I forget, these are like $5, but you can kind of cut the patches up and put them on your skin as long as there's not too much oil. So continuing with the tincture, Mickey, if you please can for at least 2 more weeks to maybe 3 more weeks, 2 more weeks. That means a total of 4 weeks. So I think we agreed on 4 to 6 weeks, but we can go 4 weeks tincture. But now we're going to start applying the CBN at night. Whether you guys pick the patch or the capsule, depending on which is available in your local dispensary, we'll see. But, and it's going to be a little pricey. However, I think that the CBD dominant stuff with a little hint of THC plus your CBN at night, that should push your sleep a little bit faster. So if I had my options, I would just increase to 1 full dropper 3 times a day. But I think if you're not liking the consistency, that's going to be a deal breaker. So continue current dose, add on the CBN. Oh, so CBN is essentially aged cannabinoid. So when you have product that's left over for a long time, a lot of the THC evaporates and you're just left with this lump of oil and resin, and that's what they get CBN from. In fact, these capsules, I don't think there's any more capsules. I use them. It's only 10 in here. Yeah, I use them all. If you look at a capsule, it has a little lump of wax in it. It looks like wax. And that's how they make. So even the dispensaries, the cultivators are figuring out how to utilize even the old products. So, and there's still legitimate side effects, good effects, not side effects, good effects with even old stuff. So this plant is just brilliant. And if you use it properly, I think you can take care of a lot of symptoms that in modern society we find in the clinic, in the medical clinic. Now, if you have stroke and high blood pressure and about to have a heart attack, I wouldn't go messing around with this. In fact, one of the side effects of this, if you're on the verge of heart disease or a heart attack, is it can bring on chest pain. So you have to know your side effects. You have to have a legitimate coach that knows his or her knowledge base of cannabis and how it interacts with medicines. Oh, that's the other thing. I would not change the medicine dose. You can't change the medicines you can't make too many changes. You can't go lower on medicines, higher on this at the same time. You have to do one change at a time. So we'll just maintain all the medicines as is, no further weaning, and that's fine, but we'll keep on ramping this stuff up. We'll utilize this plant as best as possible. And if we still have no problems at the 4th week, then we'll add on the THC. I just like to have CBD, the big brother, the bouncer of the cannabinoids. I like to have CBD loaded in the bloodstream on at a regular basis, good levels, before we start introducing hits of THC. I think you'll have a better effect. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of a clue on how to go about using your products. I do trust some of the bud tenders, but they only have like 2.5 to 5 minutes, and then they have to help the next customer. So I'm not sure how much you can fit in that much time. It's taken me, 15 to 20 minutes just to discuss this a little bit of stuff. So if you have somebody that's trying to sell you stuff in 2.5 to 5 minutes, the easiest thing to sell is what's backed up on the inventory. So if you move the inventory, which is what you're supposed to do in a business, move the old inventory. After that's all done, then you can kind of sell whatever patient's looking for. Yeah, I would assume that's the way it goes. I don't work in a dispensary. I don't think it's underhanded. I think it's business. But again, a buyer beware. You got to do your own research, and you have to figure out what your ingredients are. So if you're going to be a really good cook and apply all these ingredients properly, you have to know how to go shopping. So hopefully this gives you, Mick, a little bit of an idea. If anybody else has questions on how you modulate your use and or taking care of your ADD, ADHD, panic, or PTSD, or your gut problems, put them down below so we can all learn. Otherwise, I'll see you at the next video.